Ladies and gentlemen, gorgeous people of YouTube and Twitch, we'll be making a rundown of Day 2, Week 1, regular split of the LEC. We will be covering the drafts, we'll be covering the games, a little recap for you that may be missed out because you have other obligations. So let me take you away from those obligations just for a small moment. Let's talk LEC. I co-view the matches, I co-stream LPL, LCK, everything that you can think of on my Twitch. If you're interested, hop in. If not, that's okay too. Game number 1, Vitality versus SK. Vitality, they hard pivot here into banning the OP first picks. So basically it's like on blue side you need to ban some of the OPs because otherwise you set yourself up in positions where you have to trade. And I think Vitality coming into the series, the match today, not series. Funny to not say series after watching MSI, watching LPL, LCK. We're back to B1s. Here they ban Emilio and Yuumi. You know, Yuumi is kind of suspect here when Zeri out, but perfectly fine, right? Banning Yuumi against SK, I think that's perfectly normal. They ban all the OP first pick super champions and also set up a situation where basically their support is either going to be playing into Rakan or Rakan himself, which is a good thing. I think Kaiser always looked a little bit more comfortable in melees, right? But here in this position, they are probably first picking LeBlanc over Nico, right? I think maybe Nico versus LeBlanc. I think that's a matchup that could be a little bit more fair because both champions are basically on the broken spectrum. So in the development of the LeBlanc world, just a reminder, LeBlanc is buying Static Shiv. A lot of other champions can too, but LeBlanc has the best synergy with it because Energize stacks depending on how much you move. So basically LeBlanc, when she dashes forward, auto attacks and TPs back, it counts as Energize movement. Very similar to the old Ludens of LeBlanc who could WRQE and then R back. And you could proc Luden's Echo twice. Obviously you can't auto attack like that, but you can definitely have your auto in the air while it's flying, but that's a whole different question. LeBlanc can one-shot minion waves on site and she pushes so quickly and she can group and impact mid faster than any other champion, which makes it such a menace to deal with. Other solo laners can't keep up and they have to choose if they're catching or their team is getting fucked on mid. Static Shiv is an item that has a lot of bonus damage on minions. It scales with levels, the damage, and also the amount of times it bounces. At level 11 already, it bounces 9 times. So do the math: 7 minions, 6 minions sometimes, and it bounces onto enemies. Cancels recalls, goes very far, very, very broken, very easy to hit the AP threshold to actually one-shot the wave. LeBlanc is literally the most broken champion in the game and one of the most broken ones that has been in the game for a very long time. I hope this gets hotfixed, I hope it gets deleted because it's just fundamentally breaking the game, and I think that teams should explore the idea of playing other variants of this. I'm personally quite excited for an Ezreal variant of this, where you just get yourself a Static Shiv, Night Harvester apparently procs. You know, Night Harvester procs on Static Shiv damage, which was news to me, which is kind of crazy. So people are doing Night Harvester, Static Shiv, and just AoEing the enemy team down. We continue. Zeri Nico out, so they ban Nico and they pick Rakan Annie. So they go Annie into LB. Okay. Zyg is picked away from the Rakan combo and they pick Nautilus into Rakan. Other players, other teams would maybe go like Aphelios Lulu, but once again, what we mentioned. Flaka just said on PGL exactly what you presumed in Heretics. They were absolutely sure that leader won't pick Nico. That's very funny. Let's focus on this one and talk about that a little bit later, yeah? We continue into the 4-5. They ban Wukong, a common 4th pick. I really don't like when teams pick Maokai for no damn reason at all, together with Annie. I think here the better option to pick Seju and then be willing to pick Jackson to Renekton. If Renekton gets stolen away, I'll pick Renekton on 5 and I think it would have been a much more cohesive draft. Here already you're giving the enemy team so much Mercury value and you know, champions like Renekton, Sejuani, they'll be so hard to kill. Very, very tough to kill. Very, very tough to even impact. I think you're better off picking Seju here because it gives you more options. And at least Seju can do a little bit more against champions with Mercs than Maokai, because Sejuani has some physical damage in her kit. Renekton Seju gets picked, which is a very good rotation to do when the enemy is already showing Maokai, because you know they have to pick an AD top. There's no Gragas coming, and picking Ornn is not that great, right? Picking Ornn is not that great. Looking at this game, I think you know, Kaiser was looking very sloppy. I think Kaiser definitely needs to wake up. Like here, for example, this particular moment in the game looked very, very strange. Just look at this with me. Here you have your perks on mid. Certus is already covering in the bush, and here in this moment, AD is so far away and Kaiser is queuing in. No idea what the idea is here. Perks is hitting the wave for free, and Certus is in the bush already. I think the reaction should be depending on what's going on mid. Additionally, right, if you just compare champions, I think that the current state here for Annie, she is happy to be in these type of fights, and I don't think that LeBlanc does as much as an Annie can, right? Which is tough. We fast forward a little bit. This was a double kill, triple kill for Annie. She was in good conditions. They do have a very AP heavy comp, and I think LeBlanc, you know, is fine with 80 items, but definitely static shiv when you finish it is at the point where you become really, really strong. Very important when you finish static shiv is to just buy some form of AP. Super, super important. Because in the end, you want to reach the breakpoint where you one-shot the range minions, and Perks chose to just buy Mercs and not sit on any AP, as you can see here, which leaves the range minions on some HP. Just any type of AP that you can buy is pretty decent. We continue. The later stages of the game, I think we can fast forward to the situation that kind of breaks the game. There was a lot of back and forth here and there. I think Upset had a good game where he was ulting a lot of the Annie ults, and he survived. Eventually we got to the point where basically SK just had no clue how to deal with this LeBlanc, and understandably so. Like, this champion is plain and simple broken. I wanted to show you this specific sequence because I think this was the most interesting one. First and foremost, Perks, you know, it's just perma pushing and hovering into mid. The static ship proc also works on turrets to deal additional bonus damage. You also get full healing from your keystone, which is of course fleet footwork. Here Perks is just chipping away at the HP of the turret, and here you can see that yeah, it does an auto. It's kind of a choke, but we continue. Here eventually, you know, it's like the enemy team, like here, they are hitting your tier 2 top. In reality, what should happen, right, is that you should not be contesting mid waves, and you should be contesting this space. I have no clue what SK is doing here, because it makes absolutely no sense. They're just sacking the top tier 2, which is fine, right? Sometimes it dies, sometimes it doesn't. But the fact that they're not contesting this space and clearing these pinks and ignoring the mid wave when the enemy has pressure on your tier 2 is very bad. So basically, if the enemy is pressuring your tier 2 and they have full vision to do so, you need to ignore the mid wave and cross into your own jungle and push them out. It's very important. But now they have full vision, full information, and it's just really, really troll. So yeah, Perks finally takes the turret, and SK takes such a strange decision, because look where Perks is pushing. These guys just decided to commit on the mid wave, ignore top completely. And now they are just starting Nash. I have no clue what this was. I feel like, guys, they just said, guys, we are just done with playing against this LB. Let's just do Nash. Here, I think Photon played the fight quite bad. I don't know what he's so afraid of. Because right now, Photon sees everybody. Why is he not getting a better position? Why is he not edging in here? Why is he not playing on the information that he has? This pink was spotting everyone, this green was spotting everyone, he has full info. But instead, Photon is oinking and wasting a lot of time. His position just became so much worse. Eventually, Upset, like Markoon flash engages on a Sejuani, which is obviously pointless. Doesn't even flash his W's. Upset gets hit for free, and finally Renekton decides to come in, but he's quite slow to the situation, slow to the fight. And you can see here just Upset feathers are doing a shit ton of damage. I just look at this ult here. He's ulting, and then everyone gets ulted, and then everyone gets feathered, which is kind of funny. The LeBlanc damage comes in with the basic, and the game is completely over. Once again, it's like heavy Mercs counter, and then LeBlanc being simply really OP is a really big deal. Something I wanted to highlight as well, it's like, if you're ever in a situation where you're playing this LB, it's like, you need to let LeBlanc just carry the game. Like, let LeBlanc go on side, let her push, let her pressure before you do anything. LeBlanc is in base and is forced to TP here. Like, I don't know what Vitality's decision making really is, because it just kind of looks strange and silly here. Upset's neck would have been snapped if he doesn't ult that, and this was a very poor mistake. But okay, let's look at game number 2, guys. FNATIC versus XL. I guess before we leave, we should give a gold star. I guess Photon had a pretty decent game on the Renekton, and I think that Upset played very solid. I think SK have a lot of work to do, because they don't seem to have a good read on the meta, and they don't seem to have gameplay either. It's looking very tough. So, FNATIC versus XL. FNATIC is looking... Should we pick LB? Of course, but Nuke doesn't have the balls, Team BDS. I know the type of players Shiva and Nuke is. They need to spam games before they play. They don't have the guts. But let's see it. FNATIC versus XL. So FNATIC banned Draven, Poppy, Nico. Okay, Poppy I'm not so sure about, I don't know the info there. Via LeBlanc, Milio gets banned and they first pick Yuumi. Enemy takes Zeri Rakan away and they pick Aphelios. This is a common setup that we've seen many times. And Humanoid shows his Annie for the first time. God bless. Ari gets picked on 3 as an answer. Very common here when Vi is out and Maokai Jace is not on the table, because people are prioritizing the Yuumi combos. At the Maokai Jace, you don't have the room to do so, and picking Maokai and then dropping mid-pick is pretty bad. We've seen that multiple times. Picking Jace is quite terrible. So we continue. Zeri Rakan, Yuumi, Aphelios, Annie, Ari, very common 1 to 3 that we've seen many times. Maokai Viego gets banned, Wukong Malphite to pick Seju on 4, K'Sante Kindred, and then Renekton. I think on paper here, I kind of prefer what XL has brought to the table. I think it's an easier draft to play. I think that they're top. They have a pretty easy and straightforward lane for Zeri Rakan. They scale well. I think that Seju Renekton can pressure the map. And I don't think it's a super easy game for Kindred to play. Kindred needs to be tanky in this game, which is a silly thing to demand. But considering they have so much CC on the table, there's definitely like ways for them to force her to ult on first contact, right? FNATIC this game played a much better game. They just showed a lot more class. They just showed skill. They just showed that they are individually much better than what XL brought to the table. Razork did a beautiful gank where he circumvented all of the information. He dodged the Golem Ward, he dodged the Ward on Raptors, he queued over the wall here, as you see on the minimap, queues over the wall, dodges the crab vision as well, and then he goes mid. This is beautiful. Abadagi feels very safe, he's posturing forward, and then they find this gorgeous kill. Absolutely beautiful. Abadagi tries his best to flash over, but he flashes after, and all is good. He gets the final Q into auto. Gorgeous. Fantastic gank. Razork showed a very high level of ingenuity here. Really fantastic. We continue. I think that XL, in terms of how things progressed, they managed to get a Drake, and they got a good gank timer on bot, where Yuumi blocked the Seju ult. Maybe they could have just cleansed it. They managed to also to secure the first Drake, and then following the Herald, they had some decent conditions in the game. Really, they had some decent conditions in this game. Doesn't FNATIC Thanos outscale though? Not necessarily. I don't think that's true. I don't think they Thanos outscale. I think it's very game position dependent. It's like Zeri, Rakan, Ari, Renekton, Seju have a lot of ways to pressure you in fights, and I think in terms of target access, it is a very, very big deal, you know? I think the big difference maker in this game was just how some of the fights were being played out. I think this was a big one here. Let's look at third Drake. Here Limit was looking and posturing for a flank, which is perfectly fine and decent. I think this is good. He places a pink. He gets spotted and then gets pushed out. He should just W away, right? But XL Limit's a reaction here is to Rakan ult forward. I think he should have just kited back, invited Kindred to come more, because obviously Limit can just E someone. He could just E someone and he'll be fine, you know, someone's gonna pick him up and force Razork to commit even harder before he turns. But instead he goes around, and in reality here, when you CC the Kindred, it's like you CC your team even further, right? The way Limit tethered here was not so good, and I think that he needed to just E back, right, after he got pushed out. We can maybe check if there was a earlier moment where he needed to retreat, because maybe he should play further away from the pit, so Kindred can't actually push him out when he pink wards, right? Because this is a very good decision from Razork, I'd say. He just spots him and pushes him out, which is super, super good, right? But we continue. As you can see here, Ahri's position becomes so bad, Seju's position becomes so bad, Peach needs to E in first. You know, the fight that is occurring here is clearly favorable for, of course, FNATIC. Very good reaction here from Oscarinin that bought a lot of time and space. He did a lot of damage and he survived. That was the most important thing in terms of how he tagged in and tagged out. He did a lot of work, a lot of, you know, damage. I'm happy with that. And Noah continues the chase because the enemy needed to commit very, very deep in order to... He needed to commit very, very deep in order to kill Gezanta. Okay. Then I think that here Excel on their turn, you know, they're just not so aware of each other in terms of how they fight. It's like they're turning on a Kindred that has Mercs and is quite tanky and bulky, and it didn't really work out. Later, something very similar occurred. They just found Limit again, and they just chased him off. And then practically the fight is 4v5. Oscarinin is kiting and dashing backwards because Oscarinin had a lot better awareness of where his teammates are. And I think that FNATIC just showed much better team fighting across the board, individually and also as a group. Very important, you know, to pay attention to your enemy, but more importantly, you should make sure that you're aware of where your teammates are. That's the most important thing. Make sure you know where your teammates are. Limit is trying again to find a flank. But it's a little bit too late. No TP on Abedage. And Oro Amne. Of course, it's not going to TP in when he has no teammates. Continue forward. This point is just the FNATIC show. This is a little bit too far ahead for anything to matter. Very hard to pressure him. The enemy needs to throw everything at him. But there's a Kindred ult, and there is, of course, the Cleanse and the Gale Force. If the game ever gets to this type of state, then for sure, yes. What Winterwald said is correct. It's like they do outscale, but with the trajectory of the game, and with how the Drakes were being killed, Excel definitely could have maintained control, in my opinion, over this game. We continue. Razak at this point with the Yumi on him and just having mercs. He can always get his ult down, doesn't die in a CC chain. And then it's just the Noah show. Does so much damage, of course, with his build. Cleanses beautifully there on the charm. And FNATIC 2-0. Really, really strong games for FNATIC. Like, FNATIC, you know, if we're not counting the competition, right, which of course matters, and performance can be very inconsistent, I think FNATIC has had the best 2 games of any team so far in the league. Very, very clean 2 games. I like them a lot. Very good. I was very harsh on Oscarinin, and I think that how he plays on the K'Sante has been really, really fucking good. Like, he's been playing the K'Sante super, super good, and I'm happy that he has another champion that works so well for him. I didn't understand here, XL, why they don't choose to just hit the... like, just hit this K'Sante together. This is how XL are so strange in the way they fight. They are so split all the time. It's like they had a free K'Sante here in the pit, and they could have just fought at him and then invite the enemy to go deeper and then turn together as a group. But instead they turn first with Rakan and Zeri, and then they turn around here back. And then now they go with Renekton and turn again, and it's just so out of sync and out of sorts. It's not a good one. And maybe, you know, if they were more coordinated, they were more in sync, then, you know, some of these fights that they were walking into in some of the states in the game could have been a lot better. But now, of course, the game is over. Alright. Let's take a look at game number 3. Mad Lions vs G2. It was the game of the week. Match of the week. Draven's out, Mauk is out, LeBlanc is out. They didn't want to play LeBlanc, so at least they banned that shit. Yumi Aphelios, and then Milio for Nico Lucian. I think when Aphelios is out, I think probably you want to prioritize Nico. I think Nico is absurd. Why is Nico absurd? It's just it's very hard to react. Even when Nico is walking with the wave and she's walking at the front, the window she has before you can even visually see the melee minion, sometimes that's too late. When she's transformed to other things and how the CC is instant is very stupid. You don't have a window to react. And sure, you can press tab and use that trick, but I think that trick in itself, that's a thing in game, is also stupid. But it's necessary, right? It's definitely necessary. So here they get Nico, Lucian, Nami against Milio, Xayah, K'Sante, which I think, you know, I will probably prefer the Nico side, but I think Milio is a little bit more value than Lucian, Nami right now in terms of what we've seen so far. Xayah, I think, is one of the better... It's like, Xayah is definitely one of the better ADs against Nico because of how the R works, of course. You have a button that you can actually use to react. And K'Sante is picked as one of, you know, the classics when it comes to chasing. So coming into 4-5, they ban Gragas, which is a Niski classic, Gragas, Annie, and then Olaf Sejuani. 2 Mad Lions, you know, Sejuani maybe is arguable because here already Nico is showing and Lucian Nami is showing, so I think the Sejuani ban is kind of strange. And I think that to some degree it doesn't matter for both sides because I think both sides don't want to play it. Here I think, even though Nocturne is such a fun combo with Nico and so forth, and Nocturne can be useful, it's like you're picking Nocturne into K'Sante, Xayah. That's not good. That's really not good, in my opinion. In a world where you can just pick Wukong, it's like, sure, Nocturne ult is fun and all, but if you can just pick Wukong, Wukong Nico is also a combo, right? And it's just a better champ. But here you're playing Nocturne into champions that you are way weaker than, but you have a very cool combo, right? It's like Nocturne, Nico is a very, very strong combo. So I understand that portion. But the rest of your kit is not going to be that useful against the enemy team, and I think that it is just a little bit better to just pick the Wukong yourself here on 4. And then if the enemy bans Wukong, which in most cases I would want to, right? I would want to, when it comes to the Mad Lions on 5, they are aware of the fact that, you know, Yike really doesn't want to play it. It's like, Yike really doesn't want to play Wukong. What about gold stars for FNATIC XL? I think gold star there, I think FNATIC XL, the biggest, the two biggest stars I would probably give to Razork and Oscarinin. I think that Noah, like, I think everyone played a pretty fucking good game, but I think Razork's awareness of his role in the fights was super good, and also that gank on mid was fucking gorgeous. And I think Oscarinin, I want to give him some props because I've been very harsh to him, and I think he's played 2 fairly fucking decent K'Sante games. We continue. So Poppy gets picked on 5, which is perfectly fine, right? You are playing Poppy against Wukong, Ahri, K'Sante. No problem there. I don't mind that. You're picking a tank with this composition is perfectly fine. So we hop into the game. This was the Caps show, but it was a show that went on too long, and the seasons didn't begin to make any sense. It was season 1, 2, 3, 4 of Dexter, and then it turned into season 5 of Dexter, and season 7 of Dexter, and season 8 of Dexter. We continue. So Caps was in a very good condition around mid. He was really, you know, destroying the Ahri. They found ways to impact that lane. Niski, like, this is an example, right? It's like, just because Caps has turned into somebody else, right, means that he can't see the ult. This right now visually doesn't see it until it's too late. Like, here he just wants to go for the reset on Yike, right? And Niski just got 6 off of the Drake. Here he got 6 of the Drake. Yike is in trouble. He has to flash. And then Niski just wants to go, but here Nico is already ulting. He doesn't see this visually. You only see it by the time you CC'd. Sure, you can say, oh, he should have known. He can... It's warded. I know it's warded. Almighty DPS. My point is, he doesn't see the fact that Nico is ulting until he gets CC'd. That's what's so OP about Nico. I think that's not okay. I think really that's not okay. Visually, we see it. Like, he knows that Caps is in this bush, right? He knows that Caps is in this bush. And he can maybe predict it, right? Like, obviously, he's trying to kill Nocturne here, Aaron Deer. I don't know what you're saying. Like, in this spot, there's room to play it better for sure, but I just want to highlight how stupid Nico is as a champion. You see, now you see it. I think it's a problem. So we continue. So now the mid situation is already very tough. It's like landing Qs on Ahri is very easy. Trade pattern for Nico with W is very easy. You know, hard forcing and looking for Qs also hard. It's like Nico doesn't need to use E ever to trade. And you have a Wukong jungle, you know? You have a Wukong jungle for sure. Eventually, Caps does some shenanigans where he turns into a minion and plays around with Niski. I just want to show that one. And then we're going to just continue with the Caps montage. So Caps is just chipping away at his HP. So this is the moment. Yeah, once again, it's like, you don't see the R. You don't see the R. It's like, even if he knows this is the minion, he doesn't see the R. Because on Spectate it looks really stupid. But he can oink around like this as the minion, right? So let's say Niski doesn't walk, right? Thank you very much, guys. Let's say Niski doesn't walk on the wave. Then this wave is pushing towards Caps. He's freezing and he's just last hitting the minions as a minion. and Niski can just FF. So obviously here Nico's very strong. She has good items, good stuff. But it's like, once again, it's the same thing, right? He flash R's and he flashes in the last second, E's for free. It's like in the past, the old Nico, you had to hit E first. You know, you had to hit E first. There was some skill to it, there was counterplay to it. Nico was a very heavily underplayed champ, right? Because it was very weak and it was too easy to react to it, but there needs to be some kind of middle ground, you know? So it didn't matter that he knew Nico was doing this. That's my point. This is not Niski being stupid, right? This is just damage ranges and Ari being completely fucked in the game state. There he is. Caps gets the root. Mad Lions played a very dangerous game, even though they won this one. They played a very dangerous game in terms of how they approach things. I think that Hansama played a very tame game in terms of Lucian Nami. I don't feel like he got any pressure. Let me just drink something. I have something in my throat. Trying to remember this moment here, because the Drake was given up and the Mad Lions are leveraging this, of course, to just start the Baron. Chase managed to get really fed in this game due to some of the fights and also catching Caps on side, giving away the shutdown, which was problematic, right? We walk forward into this situation. Yeah, this was so absurd, right? Because Mad Lions go into this position where they are trying to hit Nash, right? They stop the Nash and they look to turn, and Poppy gets saved by the Ankara Messi. As you can see, he was Q3'd here by Chasey and he would W and push him out. But instead, Hilly's Q pushes him away and cancels the CC of the Q3. So you got Ankara Messi, saved by Messi. We continue. Here the issue is that Mad Lions, they just based on vision and didn't clear any of the vision. So they made it very obvious what Mad Lions were up to. They didn't clear any of the vision. They were walking on wards, walking on vision. And as they are crossing here, you can see that the Milio and Zaya are posturing on the midwave, which they clearly can't posture on. Because we already saw Chase on the blue trinket and also Elioya on the blue trinket. So G2 are on tempo and they pressured and they find 2 kills, which of course leads to Nasher. So now the game already looks over. It looks like G2 is going to win it all. They're going to have a good time. Everything looks splendid. They're setting up for the tier 2 on bot. They're going to cross into mid again. Everything is easy. Everything is breezy. They can just poke away with Lucian. Very hard for blue side to find clean engages. As long as Lucian Nami wave is used late, all is good. But this is where the Caps show takes a very strange turn. So if you're looking at your screen, you see Caps pretending to be a pink ward, angled in a very weird way. Like, I have never seen a pink ward placed like that. But nevertheless, a pink ward is placed like that. Broken Blade gets chunked and CC'd and he gets killed. Obviously, he shouldn't get caught. Nothing should be done to him. I think Caps' idea, maybe if Poppy's alive, is a little bit better. He catches people, but G2 aren't really tethering to this idea too much. I think they were acting a little bit too hard to give Caps this opportunity, because as you can see, they're quite far away when this turn happens. Poppy's also dead, which matters, but here the issue is, of course, that Hilly's reaction here is just gorgeous. He is outside, right? Well, not reaction, but he's outside of the knee cooled, which allows him to R, and that allows Kazi to R, right? I don't think this one's on Caps. Well, I think it's just a shit play after Poppy dies and Poppy griefed, right? So you can view it however you want, right? But it gets worse. It gets worse from Caps. Definitely gets worse. Broken Blade pathing is kind of strange. It's almost as if he's the one that is Nocturnulted. They caught Wukong here, right? And if this wasn't extended, right? If BB just takes a proper pathing, I don't know why he turns around. They just take a proper pathing here and they just kill Wukong. They just get Nash and the game looks pretty straightforward and free, right? But instead you have the different circumstance where BB gets killed and then they have a 4v5 on Nash and it gets extended. Mickey needs to flash out and all of a sudden these minions on bot that are the super minions become negative pressure, right? Becomes negative pressure because you're just giving farm to the opponent and people just got caught twice in a row in a very, very poor manner. Nocturne tried to steal and Nico didn't want to participate in this fight. Okay? So this is very, very sloppy from G2. Coming into this fight, sadly, the Nocturne ult, like this is a moment where Nocturne ult needs to be used earlier, right? But this is very hard to coordinate, right? If Nocturne ult is used as Caps is crossing into here and they find the engage, would have been better. But the issue here, Caps gets spotted. Caps gets spotted here by this ward. But the fact that it got swept there for 1 second was enough information for Mad Lions to know already that Nico's here. He knows already. And everyone gets to react. Hilly is out of the position, Karzi ults. And if they don't get value out of the Nocturne Nico combo, then they're playing practically with 2 less champs, right? So if the Nocturne ult is maybe used earlier and Nico gets a position, maybe it would have been better. But the sweep touched the ward there for 1 second. And I think it was enough for Mad Lions to know already that Nico is in that position. And now after this, Mad Lions definitely are outscaling. They are definitely very happy. And, you know, Nocturne is beginning to be really useless. Poppy is beginning to be useless. And champions like Kesante, Wukong are very, very happy to have gold. You know? Very happy to have gold. In hindsight, when I'm looking at this, I thought that Caps kind of hard hinted, but I think that BB and Hans were maybe bigger issues. Yeah, it's like you just don't have enough juice to actually poke anybody out, and BT is kicking it in, and Kazi can just heal to full. Now at this point, it's like Zaya's unbelievably strong, guys, with the W of Milio. Milio and Kesante, the 2 latest additions to the Summoner's Rift, they are a little bit too strong. Yeah, Nocturne's ult is used and they try to find some desperate engage, but I think G2 are beginning to feel how hard it is to actually breathe in these fights. Obviously here, this is kind of strange, right? They knew which one was the real, because Lucian just culled and they know this is fake. And then the game is over. I think honestly, if I want to give out some gold stars here, I think it's just Hilly had a very solid game, I'd say. Besides getting caught there on mid, together with his AD, that was kind of rough. I think Chasey was the most consistent one, right? I think he had really good team fighting. I think he was always in the good position, was very, very impactful in the case Hunter. I think that Niski had a rough time against the Nico after the Drake situation. You can view that however you want, but I think Nico's broken. Definitely there's room to improve there, but there's also not a lot of room to breathe either. I think that Karzi played like a monster too. I think Karzi played super well, but gold stars, we can't give them out to like good performances. We want to give them out to the star performances, and I would say just Chasey is the one today. Kazi also insane. Yeah, he reacted. He played with the information. It's like mechanically, Kazi is really talented. I think Kazi is a player that plays out situations insanely well, but sometimes just finds himself in terrible situations. And it doesn't matter how well you play them. It's like Kazi is really strong mechanically. In the end, I think that this was G2's game to lose. So I think that's important to highlight. G2 definitely threw this game. Do you think Hilly is the one telling him to ult the Nick ults? Yeah, he's also telling him what underwear to wear and what food to eat. No, mate. I think the community has such a warped way of what comms are. No one's micromanaging anyone like that. And telling someone that you need to Zai ult, Nick ult, it's pretty straightforward. Right. BDS versus Koi, LB, Maokai, Lucian, Jace, Yumi. Yeah, the Jace band's kind of weird, but they are just targeting top Jace. I think it's just an Adam thing, because he's going to play some of his Olafs, his champions with beards. Darius, Garen. So he's just banning Jace. I think Jace top hasn't been a thing for a very long time, so it's kind of whatever. Take a Nico first pick here, and as long as you have a good trade into the strongest bot lane option that is available, then all is good. So in this case, like the first pick Nico and Emilio Aphelios gets locked in, and then Zeri Lulu is the follow-up. I think that's perfectly fine. Annie gets picked on 3 into Nico. We already talked abundantly about Nico. I think this champion is broken. Koi decide to ban Nocturne, Renekton, which is fine, right? They're going to pick Wukong on 4, Gnar, Cannon. They're just banning the ranged champs once again, follow-up of Jace. And here it's kind of weird that they did not ban a little bit like an Adam champ, you know, maybe. But then maybe they're just afraid of the Nico Nocturne comp. Here at least Nocturne has more targets, right? Because Aphelios is arguable as a target, but it's at least easier to kill Aphelios than it is to kill a damn Xayah, right? I think it's important to highlight that Renekton being strong is very good for Adam. Renekton is an Adam champ, for sure. Wukong gets picked on 4, which is 100% correct, and then Olaf Gragas gets picked for 5. I like the Gragas jungle. I rant about this shit on stream all the time. Gragas jungle, very nice. Pick into Wukong 2, you can deny him, right? And then K'Sante on 5. I was surprised to see the K'Sante on 5. K'Sante's a little bit OP. Olaf K'Sante is I always thought of this as a strong, good matchup for Olaf. But K'Sante gets picked on 5. I think draft-wise there's not much to add. I think the key thing in this game, I'm trying to remember what happened in this one. I'm starting to run on fumes because I've been streaming for 12 hours already. I think the key thing in this one, in terms of how BDS play out things macro-wise when things are going good, is super nice and beautiful. I think a very big problem for... Oh, that was a flashbang. I really didn't like Nuke's rune choices. It's like... going spellbook? Why? You just lose so much lane power. Why don't you just go Comet, Scorch and win your lane, you know? When you can do so for free, you know? It's kind of just a weird rune choice. Ish. Some ugly movement. And now the craziness starts. So K'Sante comes to lane with much better items than the Olaf. Olaf didn't manage to find a clean Ravenous Hydra buy. And now Shugen is walking to lane with Iceborne, which is a very big spike, of course. Shugen now finds a all-in situation on top. Eventually we're going to see it. And then Olaf manages to make a massive return in the game due to some of the circumstances that play out. So yeah, Adams gets killed. Doesn't matter that he can't get CC'd. Shiganda just wanted to ult for the damage and the cooldown resets on the spells. Very good Gragas ult to just disengage, pushing people out, and BDS managed to secure the Drake. It was a good one. I like this cheeky wall placement. I think, you know, TP is being changed. You know, TP in the past, TPs and world TP setups were so heavily considered all the time, and now with the changes to TP being 10 minutes, definitely reignited that conversation. I think always when you are the aggressor on one side of the map and you push all the way, dropping wards because you know that the enemy is going to push out is always super good. And comp here, I think the better reaction, of course, would be to just him trying to kill the turret and they sacrifice him because there's no wave. And then Annie can just push mid or base or save platings and all is good. And now we have a situation where comp gets art and they just turn on Larsen. They keep it simple. Adam catches the comp Q. But maybe, just maybe, with the Storm Razor hit, could find lethal on Nuke here. So it's good that Adam blocks it. Larsen just TPs to his death. The follow-up here, after the Aphelios situation. Adam crosses a ward and comp just dies. Shigenda's efforts are completely gone. In this time span, they lost the Drake and Olaf got 2-1 somehow. Oof. Oof. It's a tough one. I'll be very sad if I'm Shigenda. And now in regular BDS fashion, I think this is their biggest strength always. When the games are streamlined and they have gone through early game and they have a composition that you know, scales relatively well and crowding is in a position to carry, I think these are games that game positions that BDS is the best team in the league to close out games like this. That they are very solid and they don't leave a lot of room for mistakes. Sure, there's some inefficiencies there, but sometimes if the goal is open, all you need to do is walk in the ball. You don't need to complicate it. And I feel like this is what BDS is doing. They are coordinated on the base timers. They reset together, reset wards, then they push out, take the right space, play around the right areas, cover their flanks. All good. All good. Here I understand why Shigenda decided to TP, right? Because they want to leverage. It's like here maybe Annie and Shigenda should TP together because they want to leverage the fact that Olaf is on bot. This is Koi's like last ditch effort, you know? Yeah, I called them Genji Light even at MSI, you know? Yeah, very similar to them, yes. She was very similar to Peanut, I'd say, and everything else also fits, for sure. Yeah, the only difference is I think Nuke is not like it can't even be like if Nuke was humanoid, that would make more sense, you know, with the Chovy comparison, because I think humanoid is European Chovy, just a really strong laner, you know. This was a little bit too much and unnecessary, I'd say. I don't think they needed to pursue this with Olaf and with Zeri. But we continue. And the game is finished. I think my mind goes off with this one. I would just have to... Well, too broken there. Understandable. Understandable crowding. I think in terms of providing the gold star, I think Shio fucked up some shit mechanically. that are memorable. It just kind of has to be the bot lane. I think they had the cleanest performance today. Not saying that Crown is in the chat. I kind of find it more fun to flame my homies. So if I ever get a chance to flame Crowny, I will. Like in this moment where he just jumps in together with his buddy. But yes, I think the game against G2 that BDS played, I don't think they actually got to play the game. I already talked about this at great length with my brother in the chat. But sometimes best of ones are like that. So we'll start for bot lane. Zeri, probably Labrov. Well, let's give it to Labrov because Crowny just put his face in the fight. So we give it to Labrov or Lulu. Astralis vs Team Heretics. Astralis ban LeBlanc on blue. Zeri Emilio. So I said on stream, Team Heretics coaching staff say he doesn't play Nico. That's why we're gonna leave it open like this. We're gonna ban Sejuani instead of Nico. And it turns out in the interview after, Flaka did indeed say, we were 100% sure he doesn't play Nico, which is kind of hilarious. Why Zaya Sejuani is out? You know, some Astralis classics, I don't mind it too much. Nico, Maokai, Draven gets picked. So I really don't like this Maokai lock-in. If you're ever in a situation where you drop mid, you know? I think Maokai is OP, but Maokai Jace, you know, if they pick JC on 3, I think it would be cooler, you know? I think it would be cooler. I'm kind of hoping that Mus has enough champions to combine with Draven that are winning into Lucianami, but at the same time, you know, I think Nautilus is probably one of the better ones, if not the best one. So I get it to some degree. Viego, Irelia gets banned. Some more classics. I think Team Heretics, they are aware here that Nico can go jungle. I think Nico Flex is something that can be powerful for Astralis. Banning the Irelia still makes sense. Astralis ban K'Sante and Jace. So K'Sante targeted against Evi, and Team Heretics just pick Renekton on 4, which I think is cool. Here it's not super easy to pick like Gragas because you're quite AP heavy already, right? Finding 80 damage into jungle is not super easy. Not super easy. Ari gets picked on 5 into Nico. I was hoping the Viteo maybe does a little static shift build, but he didn't. Jarvan gets locked in. I think in terms of what the bot lane matchup is, I think that it's fine to pick Jarvan. You know? Having a champion that is quick and loose and fast, Lucianami versus Draven, Nautilus should in most cases kind of decide the game, in my opinion. But I do feel like Sion is a little bit out of place here to pick into Renekton. I feel like there has to be something better. But I think also when you pick Nico, Lucian, Nami, you're already very AP heavy, so you're limited. And when Renekton gets taken away, very similar to the previous spot with the Maokai as an example, you really want to be the team that gets the Renekton. Because in my mind, Renekton is good against most AD champions top. Another idea could be to play Jax, right? Play Jax into Renekton, that could be a thing. But I've seen many Renektons actually do quite fine into Jax, and Renekton just has a way easier way of finding impact in teamfights. Poppy is also not a really big value here, and so it's just not super easy to pick a champion here. So maybe you could play Gnar. Gnar could be something. But I think Renekton cooldown on E definitely improved the matchup for Renekton. Looking at the game, Astralis bot lane did manage to find and build an advantage in the bottom side. They found a really nice timing gank onto top. Sion died. Maokai gets a kill on first clear. He's very happy with that, of course. Evi's low HP, but he didn't TP back yet, so it's all good. So as the bot lane did super well as always, they managed to get a 2v2 kill where they cleared out all of the Draven stacks, which is of course super impactful for the game. It's coming up just now. Here it's a little bit awkward because leader does indeed get rooted, and generally speaking, Renekton is just turbo fucking strong in these type of fights. Very fucking strong. Looking at this in hindsight, I feel like even though leader could play this better, I feel like it's just a kind of a champion quality gap in this situation where they are the ones pulling. I think another important detail here is that 113 is not pulling out the rift. So you should pull out the rift and you should play in this pocket so you can turn very easy. Then Renekton not being connected will be a lot more impactful. But just because you are standing here in Herald and also in Vision makes the decisions that Team Heretics and the pockets they need to play in very easy. They can synergize together with Renekton when in reality they could push here to the pixel, be out of Vision and then turn on one side. A lot easier out of fog, but instead they are on the ward. So it makes it very easy for Team Heretics to play. But I think also it's kind of a champion gap here. Very hard to one-shot anyone on the red side because they're very mobile. And this is of course the 2v2 kill that I mentioned. I like this play here from Team Heretics. I think we saw this in 2 games where the double TP came in. I thought at first that this is not going to work in a million years, right? I thought they were just going to get away, but I heavily underestimated the dashes of Renekton and Ahri, and this was such a big game swing, you know? I think this happened yesterday too, happened today. Very good coordinated play from Team Heretics. I have to say, you know, Evi is someone that gets framed a lot on the co-views, but this was probably one of the best, if not the best game of Evi that we saw all split long. I think it's super cool. I'm almost done, Ninja. Good for him, of course. Not sure what leader is doing here trading after this dive happened on bot, because Evi is driving by here and just stunning and killing leader too. Massive gold swing here. Draven managed to get 2 cash outs too, and things didn't really work out. I mentioned in the rundown that Estrada is the type of team to take any fight they can. They definitely proved me right. I think that Vetheo could have maybe played this a little bit more aggressively with this Q, for example. He could have R Q'd, played in this pocket here. He has 2 Rs. I think he could have played a little more aggressively. I feel like Vetheo is a little bit of a KDA player. I wish to see a little bit of more teeth from him. I think he could do a little bit more in some situations. You know, sometimes less is more, but when you go for more, you also learn more and improve more, right? Thoughts on Vetheo on Team Heretics so far? I know it's kind of early. I think he's been fine, but I think he's been kind of a side character in these games. I think I'm happy that he played Ahri, right? Happy that he played Ahri. I mean Azir. I think that's a good look. And I think his Ahri gameplay was perfectly fine, but nothing too crazy. I think the big thing was just that, you know, the double TP on both, giving Flacket double kill there, and the extension on the fight, Flacket becoming so far ahead in both of these games, I think is important. Who do you credit most for these Team Heretic games? I think yesterday, even though Flacket got shit for the Nexus push, which I think was overblown, I think Flacket did the best yesterday, and I think today, I think Evi was a beast. Evi was a beast. I think also Jankos had a much better game today than he had yesterday. I don't really understand why you want to go for an engage like this. Now they're just TPing dry like this. This is so silly, right? Like in my mind, like an engage like this makes absolutely no sense. There's like they're showing all of them. You're the team with the Lucian Nami. They're the ones that need to dictate the pacing of this type of game. But instead, you're the one just hard forcing. And Nico had no way of being involved in such a fight. And 113, I really have to question some of the decision making of 113 because it's something extended from the previous split too. I feel like in the regular split in spring, 113 was fantastic. But in playoffs and also now, I'm not so happy, man. Not so happy. Very, very unhappy. Yeah, I have to say as well, I didn't really understand the idea from Astralis to walk all the way here. It's like here Renekton shows on the wave and they are pushing forward. I think once again here, this is a moment where Team Red are just a little bit more timid. I think they should all die here. Like, Astralis is really completely trolling. Like, they are completely trolling. Like, their position is so terrible here. I think that you just Q the first target, Maokai ult, Mercer can just Q and R. Like here, I think you should just Q and R. He should just R into this shit. I think Viteo should ult over here and play in this pocket. I think this should be like, this should be game over, I think. They get a little Sion, which is fine. I just wanted to highlight, I feel like, Viteo is missing a little bit of kill instinct. BT was an interesting buy, He doesn't get that much AD from it when he finished it, which was at level 10. Maybe it was a decision. Like, I can understand the decision of BT. The way I rationalize it is because he wants to finish on BT LDR. This is going to make him the strongest. And even though you finish BT early, the lifesteal is kind of nice on Draven, of course. But if you want to be in a position where you finish on LDR, the moment you finish LDR and you have BT, you're going to be super, super strong. So he curves out really, really fucking well in such a game, He curves out so, so well. And I think that is the best justification for this itemization, It's like, maybe he could buy a stronger second item. But on 3 items, I don't think he can have better items. You get me? Imagine he went Collector and then he feels the need for LDR. Then it would have been worse. Maybe when he finishes Collector, he would have been stronger because he already has the Dirk. But in this particular circumstance, BT LDR is the strongest 3-core he can have. But the strongest 2-core, arguable, it could be changed. I think here Flacked kind of played bad. Mercer's pushing forward. I don't know what the fuck he's looking for. Like, he has no teammates here. I don't know where he's looking for mushrooms. Maybe eating them, maybe. So it's like the BT LDR is just a more scaling option. So he gets a Q out, and then Flacket goes full melee and just gets Java ulted like that, dry. And then leader is a raptor and a chicken, and he finds a good engage. Do you think Galio is playable in meta right now? Ask yourself, do you think Galio can play against Ari, Nico, Annie, Jace, LeBlanc? No? Then no. There you go. Here I like the pocket that Viteo is playing under. Like, this is the right pocket to play in as Viteo. I think that you let the enemy cross pixel before you turn, because this is kind of weird, I think that you have 2 players that are playing for finish, and Mercer and Evie are pushing for a fight. And I think if Astralis blue trinketed at the right point in time, then it would have been better, because here Astralis had some fighting chances. They should just start fighting on the Renekton, but they didn't, right? Now they get the turn. And Kobe gets one shot by the Renekton. Here you see Evi's coming in. He gets the Maokai ult on him. Kobe has no cleanse. So this is of course sad. And then he gets snacked on by Evi. Good shit. Alright. That's it. That's it. Look at the final fight. Stars like to make it fast when they're behind. And the game is over. So my general evaluation of Team Heretics, right, is that I think that they seem better, for sure. But they played against two very weak teams, I think. I think Team Heretics will still struggle very hard against the top 5. And keep in mind, like this game, they got 2v2 killed as Draven Nautilus. I think that the draft, you're right, with the Javan Scion 4-5 kind of made no sense, right? I think that you should be careful with buying too much Team Heretic stock. I think it's way too soon. I just don't think Team Heretics looking 4th so far for me. I think that's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. I don't think Team Heretics is better than BDS. I don't think they're better than FNATIC. I don't think they're better than G2. I don't think they're better than Mad Lions. And I think probably like Vitality versus Team Heretics is going to be a very big game tomorrow. Very big game tomorrow. Because Vitality has not looked sharp. Vitality is a quite poor. They are for sure better than BDS. You're delusional. Let's continue. To the prediction portion of this. Excel versus SK. I think that this is battle of the bad. I don't know what the fuck to think here. I think that Excel, I think that they can't. I think Excel really can't win games. So I think SK is going to have all the time in the world to just figure out the way. Oh, we need 6 items on AD carry. Okay, we'll figure that out. I have very little faith in Excel. I don't think I could have less faith in anyone than I have in SK right now. But this is just, I don't know, this is just a mess. At least Excel, I think Excel, they had some decent draft ideas. I think that's at least good. I don't think the draft is bad here at all. I think this is decent, right? I think that's good. Maybe that's the edge. Let's take a look at what SK did in the previous matches, right? It's like SK, I guess it's garbage. It's like you just get outskilled at Mercs. Here, it's like what the fuck is this Kha'Zix doing here? I guess it's okay-ish, but Wukong, Sion, Azir playing Kha'Zix into that is very rough, I think. Maybe Excel can just do better draft or something, bro. I don't know. This is a very tough one to predict. I don't know. Let's go Exa kick, you know? Let's go Exa kick. I think it also hurts them that they are red side. Well, whatever. Let's say SK. BDS versus Astralis. I think BDS smokes Astralis right now. I think this is probably the worst leader meta ever. Look at the 3 best mid laners in the game. LeBlanc, Annie, Nico. There's not a lot of room for a boy to get creative. And that's tough. I think that was a big strength for Astralis. His room to be creative. I think that all in all, I need some more time, Elena, please. Then, Elena, just let me finish. There's not a lot of room for a leader to... I think Zed could be good into Nico. Okay, you're crazy. Additionally, I think that a very big issue here is 113. I think he's just not performing well. I think it's it's just a hard time. I think he's just kind of losing, man. I think that's just rough. Azir is another champion that is very bad for leader that it exists. But let's see. You know, leader wasn't terrible on Nico today. I think they had the issue with Javan, so he definitely played Nico today and he did fine, you know? I think he trolled by going Mercs. I think it's not necessary, even though you play against Maokai Ari. But it's okay, you know? His Nico was perfectly fine today. So I don't want to create some kind of narrative that he can't play meta champs, because that's not it. It's just that I like that he has the strength and he can't use the strength in the meta, you know? So exactly those type of questions. Doesn't it feel like such a waste that Leader started playing Mage so late in his career? Those are the type of questions I didn't want to invite, because that's also like silliness. So I think BDS is going to win, especially on blue side. I think they're very flexible in what they play. They can play Vi, Zeri, Yumi. The only thing, right, is that BDS... Let's see what happens with BDS and LeBlanc, because today they banned it on blue BDS. So they banned LeBlanc here and then Lucian, which is fine into comp, right, banning Lucian, but... So I think BDS is going to win. Koi versus Mad, I think Madline is going to win. I think Koi looks quite uninspired, especially in the mid game. I think that they are quite disconnected in what they want to do. I think that Koi should try their hardest to leverage their biggest strength, which is comp. I think comp is a very strong player. I think that they should cater their mid to late game to set him up for success, because a lot of fights they take are just without him and they're not paying attention to his position, which is a very, very big and bad thing. I think Mad Lions have been they've been fine in their wins. I think Mad Lions is still the better team over Koi. And I think all in all, Mad's bot lane has been performing well. I think Healy has had two good games, like on Yumi and on the Milio, which shows that they are prepared for the meta, which I think is a big plus. Niski struggled today against Nico, but that is what it is, you know. Just fucking ban Nico, don't play against this garbage, you know. I think Chasey had two really insane games, but maybe teams should consider not giving Kesante over to Mad Lions. But I think Mad Lions should win this one. FNATIC versus G2, I think this is a very interesting one. I think FNATIC have an advantage that they are blue side, right? With the existence of Nico and LeBlanc, blue side just becomes turbo. You can set up champions for strength and success, the Milio, for example, and so forth. They can ban the Draven, they have room to do so. I have to lean against FNATIC. Nocto mid can counter Nico? No, they can't. FNATIC, I have to lean towards FNATIC. I think G2 today in their loss, they were playing a winning game. They had a winning position, but they couldn't convert. And I think against BDS, they had a pretty easy game to play out based off of draft and how some of the situations played out in the game. I think that FNATIC looks like the better team. I think them having blue side is also an edge here. I'm assuming that Leaguepedia is right, but I don't have access to, of course, the document that the pro teams have. So I might be pulling a Peter Dunn here. We continue. G2, you know, they had a winning position against Mad, but they threw. I think blue side is just really good for FNATIC. LoL Esports says FNATIC red side. Well, let's just work with the fact that they are blue. Finally, Vitality versus Team Heretics. I have to lean towards Vitality. Even though Vitality didn't look too great, I think that player-wise, I think that they are just good enough, you know, to muscle out Team Heretics. I think Team Heretics played against some weak teams and they had easy games to play out. And I have to lean towards Vitality. But this is a very big game here. I think this is where Team Heretics can make a statement. This is the moment for them to make a statement, if anything. Now at this point I've been live for 12 hours and I'm feeling kind of tired, guys. I need to jump off the computer, really. really need to jump off the computer. Yeah, those are my predictions. FNATIC G2 is going to be a close one. BDS, one-sided. Close one. Mad, one-sided. I think FNATIC, slight edge if they're blue. I think being blue is a big deal. I think borderline, whoever's blue side, I think is going to win. That's me right there. Whoever's blue side wins. That's my prediction here. And here I think Vitality. Thank you very much, guys, for watching. I forgot to give gold stars in the Astralis Team Heretics. I think I would just heavy. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Catch you guys on the flippity flop. Take care of yourselves and God bless your souls. All the best. This will be uploaded tomorrow morning as per usual. Take care of yourselves, guys. Bye bye. Love you all.